The bombing of Dresden, a tragedy that still echoes. Dresden, Germany, February 1945, a city known as the Florence of the Elbe, filled with breathtaking architecture, world-famous art collections, and a rich cultural heritage. But in just 48 hours, this jewel of Europe would be reduced to ashes in one of the most controversial bombings of World War II. The attack on Dresden remains one of the most debated events in history. Was it a necessary military strike to hasten the end of the war, or an unjustifiable act of destruction that crossed the line into war crimes? In this video, we'll explore the full story of the Dresden bombings, from the strategic decisions that led to the attack, to the horrifying experiences of those who lived through it, and the moral questions that still linger today. Why was Dresden targeted so late in the war? How did the bombing unfold? And what was the true human cost? And most importantly, what does this tragedy teach us about the ethics of war? By February 1945, Nazi Germany was on the brink of collapse. The Soviet Red Army was advancing rapidly from the east, having already reached the Oder River, just 70 miles from Berlin. Meanwhile, British and American forces were pushing from the west after the Battle of the Bulge. The Allies had already devastated Germany's industrial heartland. Cities like Cologne, Hamburg, and Berlin had been heavily bombed. Yet Dresden, the capital of Saxony, had remained largely untouched. Unlike industrial centers such as Essen or Munich, Dresden was better known for its porcelain, art galleries, and music than for weapons factories. So why, in the final months of the war, did the Allies decide to unleash one of the most destructive air raids in history on this city? Military planners argued that Dresden was a crucial transport hub. Its railways were used to move German troops and supplies to the Eastern Front, where the Soviets were engaged in brutal fighting. Additionally, Dresden had factories producing precision instruments, optics, and small arms, vital to the German war machine. But critics point out that by February 1945, Germany's rail network was already crippled. The Luftwaffe could no longer defend its skies, and fuel shortages meant that even if trains could run, many couldn't go far. So was Dresden really a military necessity? Was there another reason for the attack? The plan to bomb Dresden was finalized at the Yalta conference in early February 1945. Allied leaders Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin discussed how to coordinate their final push against Germany. Some historians believe that the British and Americans wanted to demonstrate their air power to Stalin, proving their commitment to the Eastern Front. Others argue that the bombing was simply part of the broader Allied strategy of area bombing, destroying entire cities to shatter German morale and industrial capacity. Air Marshal Arthur Bomber Harris, head of Britain's Bomber Command, was a firm believer in this strategy. He had already overseen the firebombing of Hamburg in 1943, which killed over 40,000 people in a single night. Now, Dresden was next on the list. The operation, codenamed Thunderclap, called for a massive, concentrated attack to create maximum devastation. The British would bomb at night, followed by American daylight raids for precision strikes on transportation targets. But as we'll see, the reality would be far more destructive than anyone anticipated. At 9:51 p.m. on February 13, 1945, air raid sirens began wailing across Dresden. Many civilians, accustomed to false alarms, didn't take immediate shelter. But this time, the danger was real. At 10:03 p.m., the first wave of 244 British Lancaster bombers appeared over the city. Their payload, a deadly mix of high-explosive bombs designed to rip open buildings, followed by thousands of incendiary devices to ignite uncontrollable fires. The first strike targeted the city center, the Altstadt, or Old Town, where tightly packed medieval buildings burned like kindling. 3 hours later, a second wave of bombers arrived. By now, the city was already ablaze, making it easier for pilots to identify targets. The second attack turned the existing fires into an inferno. The heat was so intense that it created a firestorm, a self-sustaining hurricane of flames reaching temperatures of 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, 1000 grados. The firestorm sucked oxygen from the air, suffocating people hiding in cellars. Others were vaporized by the heat, leaving only shadows on the walls. The next morning, American B-17 flying fortresses arrived to bomb the railway yards. But with smoke obscuring the targets, many bombs fell on residential areas instead. By the time the raids ended, over 1,600 acres of the city had been obliterated. Dresden's landmarks, the Frauenkirche, the Semger Palace, the Semper Opera House, were reduced to rubble. The true death toll may never be known. Initial Nazi propaganda claimed 200,000 dead, a number later proven to be exaggerated. In the decades after the war, estimates ranged from 25,000 to over 100,000. A 2010 German historical commission concluded that around 25,000 people perished, though some historians still argue the number was higher. Among the dead were not just Dresden's residents but also refugees fleeing the Soviet advance, women, children, and elderly civilians who had sought safety in what they thought was a peaceful city. One of the survivors interviewed that we hid in the basement, but the heat was unbearable. When we tried to escape, the streets were rivers of fire. People were burning alive. I saw a mother clutching her child, both turned to ash in seconds. The destruction was so complete that identifying bodies became nearly impossible. Many victims were buried in mass graves, their names lost to history. Almost immediately, the bombing sparked fierce debate. Even Winston Churchill, who had authorized the bombing campaign, expressed doubts in a memo weeks later, questioning whether the moment has come when the question of bombing German cities simply for the sake of increasing terror should be reviewed. Critics argued that Dresden had little military value by 1945 and that the attack was disproportionate, an act of revenge rather than necessity. Some compare it to the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, asking whether such destruction can ever be morally justified. Defenders of the bombing point to Dresden's transport links and argue that every delay in defeating Nazi Germany cost lives. They also note that Germany had pioneered terror bombing in wars against civilians, from Guernica in 1937 to the Blitz on London in 1940. After the war, Dresden lay in ruins for decades. The communist East German government left some ruins as war memorials, including the shattered shell of the but after German reunification in 1990, the city began a remarkable reconstruction. The Frauenkirche was rebuilt using original stones, its restoration symbolizing reconciliation between former enemies. Today, Dresden is once again a cultural treasure, but the scars remain. Every year, Dresden holds memorials for the victims. Far-right groups have sometimes tried to exploit the bombing to push political agendas, while others emphasize the importance of remembering the full context, including Nazi Germany's own atrocities. The bombing of Dresden forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about war. Where do we draw the line between military necessity and unnecessary suffering? Can the destruction of an entire city ever be justified? Dresden wasn't the only city to suffer. Hamburg, Tokyo, and Hiroshima endured similar horrors, but its story lingers because it challenges simple narratives of good and evil. War, even when fought for a just cause, carries a moral cost. As we look at Dresden, today rebuilt but never forgotten, we remember not just the strategy and politics, but the human lives lost. Their story is a warning from history, one that we must never stop asking ourselves: how far is too far in war? What do you think? Was the bombing of Dresden a tragic necessity or an unforgivable act of war? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into history's most pivotal moments. The bombing of Dresden was a catastrophic event that occurred during World War II. On February 13th to 15th, 1945, the city of Dresden, known for its stunning architecture and rich cultural heritage, was subjected to a devastating aerial attack by British and American forces. Over 3,000 tons of bombs were dropped on the city, resulting in widespread destruction and chaos. The bombing raid, which consisted of multiple waves of bombers, created firestorms that raged out of control, consuming everything in their path. The city's historic center was particularly hard hit, with many iconic buildings and landmarks destroyed or severely damaged. The Frauenkirche, the Tesfinger Palace, and the Semper Opera House were among the many cultural treasures that were lost or severely damaged. The human toll of the bombing was equally devastating. An estimated 25,000 people lost their lives in the bombing, and many more were injured or left homeless. The city's infrastructure was severely damaged, leaving thousands without access to basic necessities like food, water, and shelter. The bombing also had a profound impact on the city's residents, many of whom were forced to flee or seek shelter in surrounding areas. The bombing of Dresden has been the subject of much debate and controversy over the years. Some have argued that it was a necessary military target, as the city was a key transportation hub and industrial center. Others have questioned the morality of targeting a city with such a rich cultural heritage and the impact on civilians. The bombing has also been criticized for its questionable military value. The bombing of Dresden was a pivotal event in World War II that occurred on February 13th to 15th, 1945. The city of Dresden, known for its stunning architecture and rich cultural heritage, was subjected to a devastating aerial attack by British and American forces. Over 3,000 tons of bombs were dropped on the city, resulting in widespread destruction and chaos. The bombing raid created firestorms that consumed everything in their path, killing an estimated 25,000 people and leaving many more injured or homeless. The city's historic center was particularly hard hit, with many iconic buildings and landmarks destroyed or severely damaged. The Frauenkirche, the Ziffinger Palace, and the Semperoper Opera House were among the many cultural treasures that were lost or severely damaged. The bombing of Dresden has been the subject of much debate and controversy, with some arguing it was a necessary military target and others questioning its morality. Some historians believe that the bombing was part of a broader Allied strategy to weaken Germany's ability to wage war, while others argue that it was a disproportionate response that caused unnecessary suffering. The aftermath of the bombing was marked by widespread destruction and chaos. The city was left to pick up the pieces and rebuild, a process that would take years. Many residents were forced to flee or seek shelter in surrounding areas, and the city's infrastructure was severely damaged. Despite the devastation, Dresden has been rebuilt and restored to its former glory. The city's reconstruction efforts were slow and painstaking, but ultimately, Dresden was able to reclaim its status as a cultural and artistic hub. Today, the city is once again a thriving cultural center, with many of its historic buildings and landmarks restored to their former glory. The legacy of the bombing of Dresden continues to be felt, serving as a reminder of the devastating consequences of war and the importance of protecting civilians and cultural heritage. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked military power and the need for restraint and compassion in times of conflict. The bombing of Dresden is a significant historical event that continues to be studied and remembered today, serving as a reminder of the importance of promoting peace and understanding in the world. The bombing of Dresden also raises important questions about the nature of war and the impact it has on civilians. It highlights the need for military leaders and policymakers to carefully consider the potential consequences of their actions and to weigh the potential benefits against the potential costs. The bombing of Dresden is a powerful reminder of the devastating impact that war can have on innocent people and of the need for us to work towards a more peaceful and just world. In conclusion, the bombing of Dresden was a tragic event that had a profound impact on the city and its people. It serves as a reminder of the devastating consequences of war and the importance of protecting civilians and cultural heritage. As we look to the future, it is essential that we learn from the lessons of history and work towards a more peaceful and compassionate world. By doing so, we can help to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future and create a brighter future for all people. The bombing of Dresden is a powerful reminder of the importance of promoting peace, understanding, and compassion in the world. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked military power and the need for restraint and compassion in times of conflict. As we reflect on this event, we are reminded of the importance of protecting human life and cultural heritage, and of the need for us to work towards a more peaceful and just world. Ultimately, the legacy of Dresden encourages us to promote understanding, tolerance, and peace, and to work towards a brighter future for all people. By learning from the lessons of history, we can work towards a more peaceful and compassionate world, where the value of human life and cultural heritage is respected and protected. The bombing of Dresden will always be remembered as a tragic event in human history, and it serves as a reminder of the importance of working towards a more peaceful and just world. The impact of the bombing of Dresden can still be felt today, with many people continuing to grapple with the implications of such a devastating event. It serves as a reminder of the importance of learning from history and working towards a more peaceful and compassionate world. As we reflect on the bombing of Dresden, we are reminded of the importance of protecting human life and cultural heritage, and of the need for restraint and compassion in times of conflict. In the end, The bombing of Dresden is a powerful reminder of the devastating consequences of war and the importance of promoting peace and understanding in the world. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked military power and the need for restraint and compassion in times of conflict. By learning from the lessons of history, we can work towards a more peaceful and compassionate world, where the value of human life and cultural heritage is respected and protected.